Next, we'll have ETH. So ETH is like that pop music that you like, but you're like ashamed of showing people that you like it. And right now is really low, and if everyone is just wondering what is the future of it right now. So to help us discuss the challenges, the opportunities, and some bold ideas, we have our guest, Chainyoda. Please, a round of applause. From Avail. And to help our speaker, we have our co-founder, Adonis. Round of applause, please. Yes, you just like to have me ask you for. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. This is going to be a spicy one because we are talking about our favorite bag, ETH. Seems to be doing nothing, but we'll see how to save that one. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Yoda.
It's an honor and a privilege to be saving Ethereum today.
Yes, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, but this time we're saving Ethereum. So the first one, let's dive into it really quick. It is very poetic that we have the 10th anniversary of Ethereum this July, and yet the sentiment around it has been at its lowest. What do you think Ethereum got right back in 2017 to 2022, and where do you think it went wrong?
Yeah, I think, the market is very, very reflexive, right? And I think Ethereum is fine, in the sense that IBM is fine, right? So IBM used to run the whole computer industry, and IBM was the dominant computer maker, right? Then digital electronics came, then Microsoft came, and then IBM PC XT became the open standard. Now we have iPhones and Apple Macs. So IBM is still a very big player, right? But it obviously is not as dominant as it used to be. So part of the reason Ethereum guys are, including me, are a bit sad is because we have lost the dominance very, very quickly, right? So in the last 3-4 years, Ethereum is still like $1,800. If you look at L2s and the user base and the applications, developer share, innovation, the metrics across the Ethereum ecosystem are actually not bad, right? There's a lot of cool stuff being built in the Eigen layer ecosystem. At Avail, we are actually very close to, obviously, we came from our roots are Ethereum. We are big supporters of Ethereum. And I personally have a lot of exposure to Ethereum ecosystem. But at the end of the day, what's disappointed people is that the dominance of Ethereum has shrunk very quickly, in the same way that IBM's dominance shrunk very quickly. So I often joke and meme that it's actually international ether machines, and we are kind of in the same shape. So we are a very big player, right? But we're just not as dominant, and probably that's healthy because now there is more open innovation. Earlier, EVM was dominant, and Solana guys were trying to deploy an EVM on Solana. Neon, I'm an investor. Aptos guys, Sui guys, everyone wanted to have an EVM. Movement was trying for EVM compatibility. So at least now we have multiple VMs, right? Now we are building new VMs on Ethereum. We are creating new technology. There is just more open innovation because Ethereum is no longer the dominant standard for smart contracts, or EVM is no longer the dominant standard. And I think that's very, very healthy for innovation in this space.
All right. Since we are talking about EVM, I have to ask this. How much of negative sentiment towards ETH has been fueled by confusion created by a growing number of L2s?
Again, I love the IBM analogy because I love everything I say. Obviously, I love the sound of my own voice. What happens is when you're a monopoly, right, then you think that you can do nothing wrong and you get very high on your own supply. So Ethereum has some very prominent narratives like ultrasound money, and Ethereum is the most decentralized, and Ethereum is the purest, and Ethereum is born out of immaculate conception, and it's different or better than other blockchains, and all the Solana users are meme coin gamblers, and Ethereum users are looking to change the world and save humanity. So there's all kinds of bullshit that we are guilty of that we made up. And we started believing in because it was ours, right? And now, obviously, all of that got challenged by a lot of thinking people like John Charbonneau, Tarun Chitra, even me, and I try to think sometimes. So now I think the result is that all of those narratives have been challenged and invalidated. And I think the biggest issue is that Ethereum had a very successful cult, right? Like the religion. So we really believed in our own stuff. And then Vitalik took everyone to Farcaster, and Mert and all these guys took over crypto Twitter. So our narratives are no longer as dominant, and we can't really be high on our own supply, right? Because so I think then Ethereum Foundation made a lot of mistakes. The treasury guy was selling when traders in China were hurting, right? They kept selling, and it was all on look on chain. So we made, and then Vitalik made some crazy tweets, like make communism great again and stuff, completely out, or vaccination, or whatever, which has nothing to do with anything in this space, right? That's his personal beliefs and philosophy. And Ethereum guys were like, okay, you know what? If we users don't like Ethereum, then it's the user's fault. You can even see tweets like that from Omid Malika and a lot of Ethereum thinkers. And I mean, bro, come on, right? If you find a different user who wants what you have to build, or you kind of give the user what the user wants, right? So you either serve the customer or find a new customer. So correct. Ethereum has the same problems as any other monopoly. We were a monopoly, right? EVM was a monopoly, Ethereum was a monopoly, and then Solana came along and showed that it's possible to build a whole new ecosystem on a different VM, in a different environment, in a different sort of social layer. So now we are not as dominant, and that's just life. I think we got to keep building.
But in the words of a famous Ethereum person, ETH is not money. So we're gonna
have to that's there is a word in crypto for it. It's called retardio.
That's one of the most popular words.
So that's another source of confusion. Justin Drake says one thing, Dankrad, the most logical person, I love Dankrad, says something quite another. Then Vitalik comes around and says something completely, well, I don't know where that came from, right? Or bankless guys then come up with some absolutely incredible, absolutely stupid shit. So, right, and then obviously people are confused by multiple people saying multiple things, and there is no consistent narrative. So at the minimum, what we owe our community is a very strong sense of bonding and a single, consistent, coherent narrative, right? There are no perfect narratives. Bitcoin has had a lot of stupid narratives, like inflation hedge. Is it a really inflation hedge? Maybe it depends if Sailor is buying, right? So is it gold? I mean, depends. On a good day, it's gold. On a bad day, it's not gold, right? So there is a lot of things that, but it goes up. So for whatever reason, Sailor makes it go up, and then it starts going up because everyone thinks it's going to go up. It's the same with XRP and ADA, right? So Ethereum at the minimum, and then we said, oh, price doesn't matter. Ethereum is the purest, is the holy church of blockchain. So we've done a lot of crazy things, and now we need to at least give our community one single consistent narrative to follow, one clear leadership, and not people. And what happened with L2s is that it's not so much the token, but the social fragmentation is an issue, because let's say Bankless have or someone else has bags in Arbitrum, they're investors in Arbitrum, and they have to choose between what's good for Ethereum and what's good for Arbitrum. They're going to choose what's good for Arbitrum because that's where their big stakes are. I mean, ETH guys, we've been talking about game theory for 10 years. We didn't know this, right? So, I mean, Cosmos did the same thing, and we saw that happen, and we said, wow, this is a good idea. We're going to do what Cosmos did. I mean, come on, man. So, so I think we made the mistakes that Cosmos made. We made the mistakes that Polkadot also made with their parachains and auctions and whatnot. Now it's time to really unite the community around a single narrative, a single token, a single incentive system, and then say, look, guys, this is what we are, right? We are a tribe on the internet which is committed to a single vision. And we have one bag, it's called Ethereum, and it's in our incentive, it's in our best interest that this one thing goes up. And otherwise you can't, the community fragments, and then you lose the whole. It's still money, and money is about tribes, right? So if Ethereum is not money, then I have no interest. I mean, then no one has any interest in this stuff, right? Then the philosophers of Zug or the great visionary thinkers can continue, but the Chinese KOLs and traders and the Korean guys who are buying XRP on Bithumb, the speculators, they don't give a fuck, right? So I think, and that's most of us, right?
Correct.
We are in the trenches. So I think Ethereum needs to and everything was fine before we went to Zuzulu and got high, right? I mean, it was all very, very good. Then we all went to Zuzulu and we said, oh man, now nothing can go wrong. We have already won. Ethereum already won was the beginning of the end. Now I think we are seeing more sensible voices and people are saying logical things.
So I have like one last question for you, which is, when Solana was around $9, there were the Solana manlets. Where is Ethereum's community today? And if you were made the director of Ethereum Foundation, what changes would you bring around?
I would fire half the people, because the burn is too high and the price is too low, right? So Ethereum has underperformed and we are spending a lot of money. So I would start by cutting half the team and kind of focusing on 3 or 4 important things like you would do in any normal company, right? If the stock is going down, what do? You actually start to surgically see what's important and what's not important. But because it's not a corporate, professionally run organization, it's a group of philosophers that thankfully truly believe in something, and accept everything except price, and everybody else obviously believes in price. So I think what naturally results is this inconsistency between the trenches and the speculators that pay the bills of everyone at the foundation, right? So how does Ethereum Foundation do its job? Because the casino, the speculators are paying for it, right? If there are no degens, no trenches, no Wall Street buying ETH like it's buying Bitcoin, then obviously there is, then the community goes on and does other things, right? Like Solana, Aptos, Sui, who knows? So I think there is this absolute disconnect with reality, which comes from the fact that we were a monopoly and we thought we already won. And that's not the first time it has happened in history. It happened to IBM. It happened to Google. They actually let go of this OpenAI thing. It has happened to Intel. Intel was dominant, and now no one knows what Intel is. So this is just, as long as we were the religion, the tribe, and we were the biggest religion in crypto, it was all good. Now we gave up the religion, right? We became all logical and stock price like, oh yeah, we'll have a cash flow model. So now we are kind of in this, and then we actually made multiple sects, right? So there was just one Ethereum. Now there is like Ethereum Arbitrum, Ethereum Polygon, Ethereum whatever, right? So I think Base is its own thing, and then everyone's incentives are fragmented. So now I think we gotta really take stock. So I would start by, one, getting rid of half the team and making sure they find more productive jobs at Paradigm and elsewhere. And then, and actually do some productive work that takes Ethereum forward. The second thing I would do is I would, actually pitch very, very hard to Wall Street. So like Ethereum, I was shouting at the Ethereum guys yesterday because they were fighting BTC. Like, why are you fighting BTC, bro? That's what Wall Street is buying. You should be shilling ETH, right? So I think. So there are some pretty basic things, and and then the third thing I would do is I would essentially start charging roll-ups a bit more, because right now ETH is not making any money. There are no tariffs on L2s, right? So I think some of Donald Trump's technology would be very useful here. And the fourth thing is consistent narrative. Vitalik needs to be a dictator. Either he needs to be a dictator or he needs to let someone else do the job, right? Because it's very hard to consistently align everyone around a single shared vision if there are 5 people saying 5 different things. We need to work more like China and Trump and less like Biden administration. So that's what I would do.
Damn, I told you this fireside chat was going to be a little bit spicier than usual.
I wasn't trying to be spicy,
It's the truth bombs from Chainyoda. That's his version of the reality as it is. So yeah, thank you so much, man, for making the time today. By the way, if you guys have any time, do check out the Hadron Club, which is opening up today, I believe.